invited you to do that, right? And so we welcome that as well too. And then the last thing is respect that we're all on different grief journeys. Just how we've navigated it based on our experience and based on where we are today. All right, and then one more monologue opener, which is like just framing this conversation. Again, men, grief, and emotional wellness. It should go without saying, but I just wanted to remind us, why this conversation is important. Men experience grief. I probably should have said period after that, because men do experience grief, period, right? Men experience grief deeply. I think, again, I'm always going to say this. I'm not trying to juxtapose and fight this against women. However, we don't always get to see and understand like how grief is expressed with men, but we do experience grief deeply. And we welcome that, but also just understanding that sometimes it's often done in silence. It's kept in. It's all internal. It's a lonely journey that we walk sometimes, or that we feel like we have to walk sometimes. But grief deserves attention, because what we do know also is that what goes unspoken, it doesn't disappear. We try to sweep things under the rug, try to avoid, but it doesn't disappear. It manifests or shows up in different ways, whether it's in our behavior, whether that's in our relationships, whether that's on our job, whether that's in our families, it still shows up. And I wanted to put this here, that the reality is that we're less likely to seek mental health support. I think we still know that to be true as data. I was telling board member earlier that we are seeing an uptick in men coming to counseling and seeking services, but it's still not as sort of on par and acceptable just yet as our female friends. So, but yeah, we're less likely to seek mental health support, more likely to struggle in silence, and then we have significantly higher rates of suicide, again, compared to our female counterparts, and even as a younger, even the teens, they probably are more prevalent than adults. So just as we kind of tiptoe now into more of like the conversation and topic, I just want us to consider this and like let this just wash over you, that strength is not the absence of emotion. It's really the ability, like I said to my friends, like it's really the flex, right? And it's really like you being courageous. It's the ability to process it. That's the real strength. And oftentimes in our society and community, we don't think about it from that way. Strength, emotion becomes a weapon, or it becomes looked upon as a weakness, right? You're feeling some kind of way, you must be going through something, you must be crazy, now you're weak, right? And so the ability to process it is really the true strength. So I want to hear from you really quickly. When you hear the phrase, men should be strong, what does that mean to you? I'm gonna grab this mic because they're doing a stream, so I want to make sure people can hear. Probably should have mentioned that too, that they're streaming it, just so we can just get a recording of it. But I want to hear from you. When you hear the phrase, men should be strong, what does that mean?
I feel that sometimes it is negating the emotions and the feelings that they're allowed to express.
Yeah.
It seems a little bit of like a shutdown and an expectation of like stoicism rather than like expressionism.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing.
For me, it's more in terms of like what she was saying, more to the point of emotion, like being able to show emotion. Like for me and my dad, he was strong against like you don't cry for things, you basically process it and move on. So strong in terms of how you are able to process your emotions, as well as being able to like where your standing is in the home, like you should be head of the household, that kind of thing. So always have to be the forefront versus like trying to take a backseat to anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, just one quick example. I never tell people stories, so but I'm thinking of someone who, we just had coffee one day, and he was like, Kevin, I just want to come here just to sit and have coffee because I'm having to like carry the weight of my house, and I can't do it right now, and I can't even tell her what's going on. So we just had coffee and we just sat, I just listened. I know how to like, all right, you do want me to answer, you want me to respond versus listen, but he's like, hey, I just want you to listen. And I just sat there probably for about an hour, probably more of that, just fraternizing, but like the bulk of it was like just listening to like, okay, tell me what's going on. And I didn't really do any fixing it, and I just heard. And so, yeah, there's weight, there's pressure, there's expectations, which is more weight and more roadblocks, right? But yeah, thank you for sharing that. When you hear the word, phrase, men should be strong, what comes up for you?
Just going with what everyone else is saying, it's more what I've always accepted it as is don't let things stop your progression. Mm-hmm. And that turns into like negating how I feel. Like you're just saying your friends, like, I can't even stop at the house, I gotta handle everything. Realistically, I was like, you could probably have coffee at home, but I guess, no, I get it. You can't stop in front of people. Yeah. Like, I'm tired right now. It's like, what are you tired from? So like, being strong means just keep going. Like, just keep doing what you're doing, and eventually you'll get to rest. And like my grandfather said, I'll rest when I'm dead. And like, that's a very common phrase you hear amongst men.
Listen, I heard that 2 weeks ago. I think of John Henryism, right? We try to keep going on and on and on, try to beat the machine, but ultimately we die. When we.
His heart exploded.
I think it can mean a lot of different things, but to me, and sort of the role I play in my family, it's being a role model, right? Trying to show my partner and my kids what it's like, if I feel overwhelmed, communicating that to them and letting them know that even if, like a phrase we throw around my house a lot is, even if we feel bad, it's not a good reason to act bad. And so it's having, like, experiencing those feelings, but maintaining composure and sort of maintaining like an emotional regulation to be able to manage whatever else might come up.
Yeah, I love that. That's real strength. I talked, especially this is not even anger management session, but in anger management, we know that, just because you feel angry, I don't have to go punch a wall. That's how Kevin used to show up, right? So it's how you respond when you are feeling the feeling is what we really want to think about. Any other thoughts?
So for men to be strong, part of it's like, I feel like a physical strength for some, but then also like just like, at least like from my standpoint, also just somebody that's like a rock to like lean on. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm going through something emotional, and like somebody to be there for me and be strong in that way as well. So
I love that. Yeah. Speaking of physical strength, one of my fraternity brothers, she's like a bodybuilder, and he's like really bulk, and I was like, I'm not as strong as you. Does that make me less of a man? We had that real conversation. I'm like, I'm still, anyways, all the things we talk about in the fraternity. So we're already on the same page, right? And how I wanted to talk about understanding men in grief is just from this reminder of how men are socialized around emotion, right? I think there's a physical strength aspect of it, which I think that we see that played out in and navigated. So I also want to bring in this perspective, which is some of the messages that we received growing up, right? And like, real men don't talk, suck it up, be a man, boys don't cry in this household. That's not manly, which comes from both men raising men in male communities, but also men and female-led communities also have a perspective and opinion, right? Or tough it out, or another one, keep it to yourself. And I did have my AI creative assistant create this image because I wanted to see what does it look like to have all these messages kind of like interlocking on our bodies and to weigh us down and to kind of give that visual depiction of it. Because these messages do teach us a couple of things. One of them that's on here is these messages become internalized messages, and we know when things become internalized, they become scripts that we then act out, that we navigate, right? And then two, they teach us really just continue to suppress our emotions versus to express it. And then further, it definitely doesn't support the notion or the safety net that we can ultimately choose healing, or that we can ultimately choose growth, or we actually can choose ourselves. Again, I know in relationships there's a duality there, but I think it doesn't allow for this other part of the mirror. When we actually look at ourselves in the mirror, it doesn't give space for those three. Choosing healing. Again, I keep saying this because I just love to juxtapose this together, but you don't often get to hear the word healing in male communities, right? It's more of a softer term, or a softer goal to get to? Who wants to like get healing today, right? No one. But ultimately, that's what we need. We choose healing. Of course, growth is there, but even choosing me is hard, especially if you're leading a family, if you're leading a church, if you're leading like an organization. Like choosing me feels like a last thing I can probably think about ever, when really we need you to be healed so we can continue to show up for everybody else. So thinking about me really should be the priority, which should manifest as role modelship to teach you how to be grounded. Teaching people how to be grounded starts with I have to be grounded as well, because people are really borrowing your nervous system ultimately. And so how we socialize around emotions in our society has looked like these other things, but ultimately when we look in the mirror, we want to get to this place where I can choose healing and growth in myself. And I have this little, I'm glad to create this sticky note here. It's okay to feel, it's okay to heal, because we say that here, and I know we're talking about grief, but for me it's also with just in general emotions. We really don't give ourselves that gift that it's okay, or the reflection it's okay to feel feelings. If we have a feeling, we want to kind of go fix it and do something with it, which then also transfers over to grief in general. So we don't even get to that idea if we can't even give the feelings aspect of it. Again, more around how men are socialized around emotions, limited emotional language. Our vocabulary is just limited. I've had to accept that because I also arm wrestle with our female interns and therapists at one of the practices that I work at as well. And I just had to realize that we don't have a huge emotional vocabulary. For many men, we do have this emotional expression, but it kind of is restricted to like anger and silence, right? And in this book, as Jason Wilson describes in his book, it's The Man the Moment Demands. He talks about being a comprehensive man. He gives us like 10 characteristics of what that could look like. But in this book, it just says we have like a limited box of crayons compared to women. Like we may have like 8 crayons, like anger, sadness, joy, right, happy. And they have maybe like 32 with fuchsia, lavender, all these other terms that we hadn't really gotten to just yet. And the hope here is that, we definitely feel a lot, but we have to really be able to find words to begin to express it. So finding the words, I spend a lot of time, and I know we don't always talk about this in therapy, men, so I don't want to scare anybody away, but we do have to kind of get to the feelings sometimes. Like you do pull out the feelings wheel from Calm Feelings Wheel as an example to like really talk about the three levels of feelings, right? So maybe if there's anger on the beginning, maybe that's because you're embarrassed. Maybe because like you're furious or whatever, something else. So kind of get into the deeper level, the deeper feeling underneath that is kind of always helpful. And as a reminder, emotion is the body and mind's response to an experience that helps us understand and get data about these things, about what we're feeling, what we need, and what matters to us. As men, you have that already trickling around in your mind, but we don't give ourselves space to think about this. I think about it as data, not as like soft feelings and things like that. It's just information for you to know about, because I put this triangle here as a reminder. I practice from cognitive behavioral therapy, which you kind of think about the triangle here, which is on each point is your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. And so typically what you see happening is, how you think about something determines how you feel about it, which determines how you're going to behave or act. Right, so if I think this is kind of, a bad relationship for me to be in, I may be anxious or nervous or overwhelmed or maybe tiptoeing in it, right? But then tiptoeing will be my behavior, or I may be like lashing out or careless about how I handle it or how I respond to him or her, right? And so I just think that emotion, it may not be like the first thing that we navigate, but at some point it's helpful to get the data about how you feel, because that's really kind of, in a sense, teaching us and telling our bodies how we're going to be responding in that moment. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Any thoughts on that so far? Mm-hmm.
I don't need that, but I'll take it. No, it just reminds me, and I'll be open with it. I work through things like this with my therapist, or I did when I had one. Got to figure that back out. But he reminded me of when I was first working things out with him, and I had a pretty good vocabulary for working through my emotions, but he goes, I can tell when you don't want to talk about something because you tell me what you did, not how you felt about it. And he goes, that's a very common thing for men. So like, how you doing? It's like, I went to work, did this, did that. And I started listing off a bunch of actions, but not how I felt about any of those things. And then that's what he'll circle back, like, no, talk through it. What do you actually feel about those things you're doing, and why did you bring them up to begin with? And just reminding myself of that, not just talking through motions.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I really went with cognitive CBT at the beginning, because I was okay, it's very logical, very much structure and all of this, but at the core of it, it's like, wait, you have the feelings in the triangle too. I didn't want to get to. So even as a therapist, I have to go learn more about feelings than I even know about. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a part of the equation for sure. Any other thoughts? Maria's in here. Shout out to Maria for the founder of Hearts2Heal. And I hope I get permission to say this out loud, but this is the framework that she is presenting on grief. As therapists, we learn the traditional grief framework, what is it? Bargaining, depression, anger, and then acceptance ultimately. And that was tested, I believe, on a market of people who were actually dying, right? So they wanted to go through those stages of grief. And it doesn't really give space and really nuance for maybe a cultural expression or other ways of thinking about grief. And I love this idea that Maria came up with. And this sort of, I don't know if it's out on the market, if it's published just yet, but if not, I know she's rocking with it, and I was talking to her about it and doing like the film. But yeah, I think this framework at least gives us language, right, of how grief may show up for us. And so the first wave of it is, and also just to back up, just in a definition in a nutshell, like in my opinion, grief is the emotional response to loss. So that's how I want to land on that, which means that it is your natural response to this loss, right? However you're feeling about it, that's your response to it. And then like this gives us a framework to think about how we experience loss. Now it may not fit you directly, but it gives you some context to kind of think about and to land and see what resonates. But the first step in her mind maybe is shatter, right? So then grief begins when a loss disrupts or shatters whatever sense of normalcy that we thought we had. It kind of breaks whatever expectations and hope and dreams that we had built for our lives. It kind of just erupts all of that. The next step would be eruption. As a reality of the loss settles in, it's the intense emotions come up, right? Sadness, you see the anger, we see confusion, even like, what the heck? What just happened to me? Then you see numbness. And all those they probably were there because again, we walk around with feelings. Even men, we have feelings in us as well, but those tend to come to the surface more, right? Seeking. In response to grief, people begin searching for meaning, maybe connection, maybe even support to help us really understand and find ways to cope to the experienced loss. Emergence is the next one. So over time, we kind of start to adjust to life, right? We gradually start building new routines, new sense of normalcy, new relationships, and maybe even a sense of stability. And then flourishing, eventually people find ways to live forward with deeper awareness, purpose, and compassion. But I like actually how I had this here, which is it's kind of shaped then by the experienced grief. And just allowing for that to come and be a part of the experience. And I love this framework here. So I'm curious to know your thoughts about this framework here. Mm-hmm.
My personal favorite is the flourish, because even though it takes a long time, when you get there, it is important to acknowledge that it won't be the same, and it very much so is shaped by that experience. Even in your flourishing, you still may have moments of eruption when you are triggered by that loss, or there's something threatening another loss in your life. So in that flourishing, I feel like it's just pivotal to have that shaped by grief, shaped by experience part.
Yeah. And of course, it's not linear, but I do love that. These may differ in phase and moments in season based on new triggers that may arise, and just making space for that for sure. Any other thoughts on how this resonated and landed with you all?
Yeah, I wonder. How these different stages present in the body. Just general question.
Yeah, and I think I would say, with the body, I'm not sure if there's like a one size fits all. But if I were to think about a couple of them, you know, maybe you may see like the emotional, like the eruption, like maybe it could look like different, like in like your body, your core, stomach, you know, tight, tense, heart racing, literally, or the opposite of numbness, like trying to like, you know, like be in isolation and like kind of be like stoic for a bit. I think I haven't really tested the framework out and to really be able to dive into the somatic experiencing of it. But that is actually, now that you asked that question, I now want to like go figure out and put pen to paper to those, honestly. Maybe this is a note from Maria too, as she publishes it too, to navigate it that way. Hey, did you think about anything that maybe that you thought about in terms of how that may look?
Well, with seeking, you are looking for, well, in men, I would say, as a blanket statement, seeking more touch, I would say, more so than women in my
Mhm.
circle that I've talked with about different breakups, and men feel more appreciated through touch, and I'm thinking about a lot of different things.
Yeah, for sure. No, I get it. Yeah, because like, you know how anger may look like, you know, internal rage, maybe like heart racing, like tense body muscles, all this energy. Even we know when like certain one of those emotions like come up, it's like adrenaline, cortisol been pumping to your body, right? So you have all of this energy, and so you're trying to, but it's getting stuck, right? Because you don't know you don't know how to process it. I think for me, it would have been like punching a wall or like stomping around or yelling, right? And so I think it's definitely worth the conversation.
I think it's important to realize that this workflow it doesn't have a defined timeline, right? And so when we talk about like the somatic experience of finding emotions in the body, I think it can be very different depending on where you are and what emotions are being evoked. Because grief, as we kind of see here through this, often isn't one thing, right? It can sort of pull on a lot of other different feelings at the same time.
Yeah.
And so there can be moments where you feel smaller or larger or hotter or colder or alone. And I think those things can all kind of express themselves differently in a physical way.
Yeah, yeah. Based on, the trigger and the response and the environment. I love that. Just some common ways that it may show up, right? I didn't juxtapose it. I now want to go do a matrix, right, with the framework and maybe some ways that they may show up in men. But what came up for me is, you know, withdrawal or isolation. Maybe we're pulling away from others. Maybe I'm avoiding conversations about feelings. I'm thinking of someone whose daughter passed away, and like obviously it impacts the entire family. But my person who was coming to see me reminded me or let me know that they were not able to go talk to mom or dad because they were kind of dealing with grief in their own corners. So they were avoiding like having a difficult conversation, which, you know, as a defense mechanism, and maybe or a coping strategy, it was helpful for them, but it kind of left them all alone to deal with it. Yeah, because vulnerability does feel uncomfortable or unfamiliar or not yet safe in their minds. Working excessively, like working 9 to 5 and plus 5 to 9, based on doing more work projects, taking on more responsibilities because not wanting to sit with those painful emotions, so I would rather work to not deal with it. Irritability, instead of sadness, like it shows up maybe as frustration, impatience. Of course, anger comes up. Anger, I think what I heard someone say on social media, that anger looks better on men. Like they can tolerate the anger in men better. And so that's kind of what we typically go to. I added this one last night because I have a twin brother and he is in ministry. He's a licensed preacher, and so we always talk about like how like faith and mental health is really intersecting together. but spiritual bypassing can be another way sometimes. But grief may show up as relying on faith or spirituality to avoid processing the real emotional pain that you're experiencing. So it may look like, I gotta do this to stay strong and trust God. Or avoiding conversations by only focusing on maybe scripture and positivity. Or believing grief means you have a lack of faith. So we definitely see spiritual bypassing showing up in some aspects. Again, I'm not someone who's like bashing spirituality. I love God myself, but just wanted to do that as a reminder. Risk-taking behaviors. Some men may engage in behaviors that really numb or distract from the emotional pain, maybe drinking, reckless behaviors, or making those more impulsive decisions. Physical symptoms, here goes one of the examples, although not tied specifically to one of those in the framework, but fatigue, headaches, muscle tension, sleep problems, or other stress-related symptoms. And then trying to fix the grief, approaching it by trying to solve the problem. So those are common ways that I thought about. Any other thoughts that you all think about on how grief may show up in men?
I've recognized a few times in my life where I've recognized my own grief in someone else and trying to fix their grief as a proxy for fixing my own. So kind of ties a few of those things together.
Yeah. And I love silence, so and especially with men, I know in the counseling room, they're like, are you gonna say something? I'm like, no, I'm just wait till you process it. Men, we sometimes take a little bit longer to get to that thought here. So anyways, I love silence. So silence is a good thing to me. All right, the cost of unprocessed grief. In my opinion, it looks like a couple of different ways. Depression, relationship breakdown, substance misuse, maybe emotional numbness, increased suicide risk. For depression, when it remains unprocessed for so long, it can develop into persistent sadness, hopelessness, loss of motivation. It can look like, many men experience depression differently. It can appear also as irritability, exhaustion, and then loss of interest, and these are the things that we screen for in the depression screener if you become either at your doctor's office or even just in the counseling room. So I think it's helpful to understand that because these are some of the criteria that we think about. And again, I'm mentioning this and I'm hoping this lands correctly. This is just information for you to know, not to judge ourselves on. I want to give ourselves grace. And this is maybe if it's a mirror of reflection, and then it's just information to process. Relationship breakdown, it can be difficult, make it difficult to communicate, more even express vulnerability, or even stay emotionally present, right? And from that, then that leads to misunderstandings that happen more frequently. We see more conflict. Of course, men remaining more emotional distant, and sometimes deterioration of important relationships that you once had. Substance misuse. We know that while alcohol and substances may provide that immediate release or that immediate satisfaction, it can often delay healing and create additional challenges that we can see more in the addiction space. Numbness, men shutting down emotionally as a way to cope. I talk about this in my journal as well, but over time this numbness really can make it very difficult to really not only experience pain, but also joy, connection, and really the meaning of life on the other side of numbing. And then increased suicidal risk as well. Something to consider, I have a couple of these here, but grief that is acknowledged and supported leads to healing. Grief that is ignored often finds other ways to surface. So creating spaces like this where we feel safe to talk about loss and emotional pain is one of the most important steps that I think that we can do. Another question, what signs have you seen when men are struggling emotionally? What signs have you seen when men are struggling emotionally?
An inability to set and maintain boundaries. Right, so just in my personal life, or things I've seen when someone's going through grief, especially someone who's like supposed to be a sort of like stronger role model figure, everything just comes through, right? There's no setting aside that time for self, for reflecting, for recovering.
Yeah. Going.
And to echo what you were saying, that when certain life events cause like a fracture in your identity, and that process of reorganizing who you are and what your self is, like you said, boundaries can be malleable or forgotten.
Yeah.
And self-abandonment to reconnect with other people maybe that aren't so great, or in the process of things you just self-abandon.
Yeah. I love that you said reorganizes who you were. Now I'm thinking of my own story. It was a job-related thing. Not even it wasn't like someone passed away. Although my granddad passed away a year before this issue that I'm talking about. But the way they handled my job, I just lost all of my identity that I once built up. I spent 4 years building a team and creating it and making it run as smooth as I possibly could, and just out of nowhere, it just shattered my entire life. So I kind of like literally shut down mentally, internally. Like I was still saying hi to people, but I was like stoic. I was numb. I was just walking around like, am I even walking on? I felt like I was on cloud 9 internally. Because I couldn't even like fathom like anything other than what I had already built up. So yeah, that definitely it hit me when you said reorganize my entire existence, because I was like, I built my entire career on this thing, and I had to, anyways. It's not my therapy session.
Well, some of the things that you had already mentioned prior, what it's like isolationism, not being silent. You're just not overly looking to engage with anyone, that kind of thing. So that's kind of stuff that I look for when, both in myself and in others when that happens.
Yeah. Any other signs when recognizing grief? What about this? Why do men often avoid vulnerability? This is always an interesting question.
With my little brother, had this conversation with him. He says, because it's hard. And then I ask him, do I make it hard? So how am I making this difficult for you? Is it just hard for you to express yourself, or is it more of like an environmental issue? And sometimes he says like, you make faces when I talk, or and I'm like, yeah, I probably do, I'll work on that. Or like, sometimes he just wants to vent and doesn't want suggestions, and I'm a very like, let's problem solve.
Yeah.
So I try to listen to what is making it hard for him, but sometimes he says it's not you, it's just hard.
Yeah. Other thoughts?
Well, it's back to like where we started stage 1, where it's like this is how we were brought up, that you can't be vulnerable, that there's no space in this world for you to be vulnerable, because no one will care. Like you just have to keep trucking and don't worry about having to actually express yourself in a meaningful way.
Yeah, if I told every man I'm going to give you a safe space here today, that sounds not as fun as I'm going to give you a new truck to go home with, right? And so just understanding that, we've just kind of been socialized with not accepting certain things as like a good thing for us.
I think it's important to almost take like a step back and ask, what do we want when we're vulnerable? And like for myself, it's to be accepted or seen. It's to feel that like it's not going to be exploited, right? It's not going to be turned against me and used for an argument or something later. And so I think it depends a little bit for each person, but it can be difficult to, even when you know how to be vulnerable in spaces where you feel like you might be exploited, or where you're not going to be seen when you are vulnerable,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be acknowledged in sort of an ideal way.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you feel like you navigate that? How do you create that for you?
Yeah, you go find spaces where it does happen, right? So even if, say, like in your home life, you might not have that, there might be a community elsewhere where you can be more vulnerable, or more show up in a more earnest way that is received well, or it is, reciprocated. There's a lot of difficult conversations that you can have, which is a little bit of, chicken and an egg, right? Kind of bringing vulnerability to that conversation, say, hey, I don't feel seen, or I don't feel respected, maybe. There's a lot of different feelings that can come up with it. I know from my son, for example, when I see him struggling, he's worried that if he's vulnerable, he's going to get in trouble because he's bringing something to the table that maybe he shouldn't have done, because of a curiosity, or because he didn't know how to handle a moment. And I have struggled with being like, okay, I got to change the behavior, but also show up there for you. And sometimes he's like, I just wish you would feel bad for me more. Like, I was in a tough spot, and I'm like, I do, but I don't know how to show him that.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think, to answer your question, finding spaces to do it, but also practicing it ourselves so that we can sort of exemplify that for the people around us, and show how, hopefully, sort of model the behavior that we want to receive.
Yeah. I love that, modeling the behavior. As you was talking, I was thinking about, again, I listen to a lot of words that people say, and you said, I want to be seen. And I was just thinking about, how does that work with men? If I come up to you and say, hey man, I want to be seen today, or I want you to be seen today, that doesn't always land well in our country, right? You'd be like, man, are you weird, or what's going on? But no, man, I see you. Like, you are a king, like you are God's gift to this earth. You're amazing, you're doing great work. So we can role model and practice and help us all to rewire and create spaces that people can accept that and not make it weird and this bad thing. Men want to be seen. Men deserve to be seen, right? But we though sometimes words, because they've been sort of like socialized in a negative way, we don't get to pause and say what they actually mean. I see you mean I actually see you as a human. If I go back, remember, some people weren't even viewed as humans in America, right? And so seeing you actually is important. So we have to do our part as well to create that safe space and role model that. Oh yeah, sorry.
I'm a believer that if I'm not operating from love, then I must be operating from fear. And if I'm not loving myself enough to be vulnerable, I think it's tied to a lot of different kinds of fear. If I'm vulnerable with a person who doesn't want to hear or like what they hear when I am, I fear losing them. I fear being alone. I fear being misunderstood, not seen. Being seen as unstable. I feel like if I'm the masculine energy I want to be, that means I need to be stable.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's ultimately like unfounded what I'm saying, but it is like that sort of delicate web of like stoicism and all the, I mean, honestly, the BS we've been talking about, like this structure we have in our minds of what manhood is.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it comes down to fear.
Yeah, I love that. And I slept in my science class growing up. I went to OBJ, don't tell my professors, my teachers that. But I love data now. And so I'm awake now. But I love science. So it's really for trying to figure out the data behind what is the fear? What is the fear telling me? and begin to put, I guess, the fear on trial a little bit more, and be more curious about the fear. And really, when you pause, again, most of us are hustling and bustling, so we're kind of just running through life, right, if you will. But when we really slow down and think about, okay, I have a feeling that I'm feeling. What is the feeling? The feeling is fear. What is the fear telling me? And go through that checklist. You really kind of get to the, okay, well, maybe I can really tackle this. Maybe I can be vulnerable. Or if I am fearful, how do I really work through that with myself or with other people or with my environment? So I just love that you mentioned that. So thank you for bringing that up. Any other things about why men often avoid vulnerability? This is often like a very hot topic.
I might be getting a little too heady, but I think a little bit of it also comes from like societal expectations, and that, like, for example, the United States, we're a largely patriarchal society, and so it can be difficult to be vulnerable when you might have the perspective or the idea that, like, I've got all these advantages. Am I being ungrateful, or am I overinflating this feeling that I might be having when I have all these other things going for me? Right? And it can also be difficult to present vulnerability or ask for that safe space from someone who might be going through, a different, perhaps equally complicated or painful situation, but from a very different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If Maria invites me back, I want to talk about the 5 evils of society. And those evils of society are like, patriarchy, capitalism, Puritanism. There's 2 other ones, but you kind of hit the nail on the head that we're navigating in this society in our different perspectives, and so we're not able to bring those to each other based on our experiences. Another one. So what helps men feel safe enough to talk? If we haven't mentioned that already, anything you want to add to that in supporting men in grief?
Whenever I talk to my little brother about this, he says that it helps him if I don't try to relate, I guess. And that's different for everyone. Because I have clients that are like, have you gone through something like this? And they do want to know. But I think my brother, sometimes he has a lot of guilt and like, kind of like what you were saying, like, well, you're a girl and like you already have to deal with all of this stuff, and I don't want to put that on you because I know I have like the leg up in society. However, I just had a bad day, and so it doesn't help him for me to say, well, I've had a bad day too before, even if I'm trying to help. And I think for me it helps to just treat him like a human sometimes, and like, not my brother, not a boy or a man, like, you're just another human and we're all walking through this experience for the first time. So I try to have that compassion with him and just be as gentle as I would want someone to be with me, regardless of like gender or race or anything like that.
Yeah, love that. Other thoughts on what helps men feel safe enough?
Assurances of value, that opening up about insecurities and kind of relinquishing the power that society's kind of structurally provided. I'd say that's it.
Yeah.
Assurances of value.
That reminded me, I was gonna play a clip that I just saw on the way coming here from This Is Us, and Sterling Brown is talking to his wife, and they're having this big argument, and she's like, well, if you didn't have 3 anxiety attacks, I would have done this, right? And so just kind of weaponize that against him, and so just not hitting him over the head, with what happened in moments like that.
This is perhaps a little like disingenuous, but just sneak it in. Like, you're playing video games and you just ask your homie like how they're doing. It's easier to talk about that than if you're just sitting down and like looking in each other's eyes, being like, "How are you, man?" Like,
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it would be going on a walk or like going for a hike or playing basketball or making dumplings or
Yeah.
you know whatever. Just adding an activity so that you have a space to talk about something, but also be just a little bit distracted. So it's not the focal point, right? This isn't about me. It's just something I'm talking about while we're doing something else.
Yeah. Yeah, integrating that into your everyday life, normalizing the conversations. I'm thinking of someone who was going through grief and the worst of, I'm not comparing grief, but this is definitely one of the worst cases that I've seen. But anyways, it was on the guy trip. And he was in the back seat, and he put his head up, like, you know, he put his head in his shirt because he couldn't even like show his emotions with his homeboys. But so you're trying to like find ways to like normalize that around your guy group, so that you can still be yourself and not hide, you know, who you are. Yeah, I mean, sneaking it in is definitely, I'll use your term, is a way to.
Yeah, I think in addition to what's been said too, we've kind of already covered like multiple layers that are kind of keeping men from speaking their mind, not having the vocabulary, the limited box of crayons, maybe the anxiety wrapped up in you know, not having that vocabulary or feeling like all the things I said before too. So maybe something that would help me as well is not seeing people speak about it imperfectly.
Yeah.
You know, like not so so academic, not so clinical.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of people who are ahead in this way versus men who maybe have not spoken as much about their feelings before.
Yeah.
You know, like there's so much ground to make up. I have to speak so perfectly to even understand what's going on in here, what's going on here. So, you know,
Yeah.
imperfection.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Sneaking it in and being imperfect. We're not perfect already, so just being who you are. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, not being clinical, because men, we don't speak clinical terms. Even in the counseling, I use your language, and I don't curse often, but when they do, I was like, okay, I can curse with you, right? But yeah, I'm just having a shitty fucking day, right? And so that's kind of going with that. Okay, so tell me more. Let's go deeper. And then I'm gonna skip to this next one really quickly, because I do want to talk a little bit more about kind of reusing the term man up. I mean, I know I used it in the beginning as a way that we receive negative messages from growing up, and we have to like man up and be, you know, very strong. But here I want to like use this acronym, yeah, let's man up, but really as a way to show us how to support one another in grief. And this is probably not, you know, eye-opening, like I'm not giving us $1 million here, but just new ways to think about like the word man up, but for sure, hopefully some practical things to think about. And definitely feel free to let me know what lands with you. But the first M is, yeah, make space for real conversations. Create environments where we feel safe to speak honestly about what you're experiencing and not being perfect about it. Maybe some open-ended questions are definitely more and more helpful. Yes or no is going to get you yes or no, right? We know that just in general communication. So how are you doing with this? Like, what has been the hardest part lately? You don't have to go through this alone, but again, those first two questions definitely give people a way to begin to tell the story as a way they're processing it, versus more of a leading, more directive way to do it. But yeah. And also, I think someone mentioned this earlier, probably the most healing part of some of those engagements or those moments are just listening, just being with. Someone invited me to come talk to her about her son who recently passed away. And honestly, I didn't even as a therapist, I didn't have any words to say. I just sat with her. And as we sat, like, she kind of just felt like I was with her and like attuned into her, if you will. And then, not that I was trying to get her to this place, but she was able to kind of like find words. She was able to kind of talk more. She was able to kind of get some food in her system. She was able to like really now think about, okay, now how do I begin putting these next steps together? So, like just sitting with someone, being present is also just as powerful. And I encourage people, again, there's not the right word, right, sometimes to find or to have to try to find, when someone's dealing with any loss, but obviously losing a loved one. So I'm trying to get us out of, especially the men. And I know many of us, I can go home right now and fix a lot of different things, but maybe this isn't the thing to fix. It's just probably just a thing to be with and sit with. A in Man Up is just acknowledge and name emotions. Again, I know we don't do a lot of emotional talk, but yeah, helping us figure out and identify what you're feeling is really an important step in processing. Again, I said this earlier, but Resonant Monachum uses the word metabolize. It has to be metabolized, just like we metabolize our food, so does our pain, so does our emotions. So remembering that and helping us move beyond phrases like "I'm fine." We always, all of us in America are fine. We're fine. We're all fine every day, right? So how do we move beyond that language and terminology? Yeah, I think when emotions are named, they do become easier to understand and then ultimately work through. I use a tool with my kiddos in parent consultations, and we have to name it to tame it. We can't name this what's going on. We can't tame it, right? We can't move through it. Or another term is connecting with it and redirecting, right? Connected with the right brain, or left right brain moving to the left brain. So all those things sort of help, but we have to be able to acknowledge and name the emotions. That was A. N is nurture healthy connections. Many of us, I'm reading a book with the church called Waking the Sleeping Giant. It's really more how do we galvanize men in the church to really do God's work, but by building this community of men who we have in our own ways kind of ostracize ourselves from being able to be in safe community with men. Because it's weird, because you don't trust your dog, or whatever problems we've created, right? Or egos, or I gotta be the better man, or whatever happened, we've kind of gotten in our own corners of the boxing rings of the world. So just remembering that healthy connections community can be a thing that we can create. I said this on my social media, but yeah, grief becomes heavier when it's carried alone. Not that I want to bring everyone all of my problems, but yeah, it's heavy. And so maybe trusted communities can help me find ways to understand it, kind of find ways to just navigate it. Maybe even it's just a resource, or if it's like, oh, I didn't know you could do this, or I didn't know that was available, or I didn't know Hearts2Heal was here, right? And so you find new ways to connect, but even leverage one another in a healthy way, but also just, more importantly, find understanding. Friends, support groups. I'm definitely a proponent of therapy, faith-based communities. If you're into that, finding spaces like Hearts2Heal, physical activities, but also combined with the activities as well. So we're not like just sitting here just talking like this, but maybe we're playing basketball and hooping, right? But we're having intentional conversations, or maybe we're going for a walk and we're looking at nature, going for a hike, right? So like that physical activity for sure helps all human beings, but I'm sure with men. But yeah, for me, I'm really big on connection and helping and reminding men that it's okay to, if we have a trusted person, to lean on one another, so that we don't have to carry this along. We see that when we do carry things along, we kind of move into isolation and loneliness, and that really begins. So we have to deal with and coping with things on our own, which then moves to risky behaviors, numbing, all the things that we already talked about. That was in U is understanding that strength includes vulnerability, right? I mentioned this again, so nothing new here, but yeah, strength is often misunderstood as like silence or toughness for us men. But yeah, I'm someone who is pro help-seeking behavior. I'm for finding help-seeking behavior is okay, and normalizing that as a thing. And eventually, if you're comfortable being able to talk about loss and processing the emotions and being honest about what you're actually feeling. Again, I grew up in a household which made us keep everything on the inside and don't talk about what is happening on the outside, right? Or on the inside, because we don't want people judging us and looking at us crazy or calling a CPS on us, right? So all of that is very real and true, but trying to rewire from that. And then N is just permitting different ways of grieving. Grief doesn't look the same for all of us. I'm thinking of someone who I was working with, and she wasn't invited to her dad's funeral. Her mom and her did not get along, and so she wasn't invited. But she did remember a time where her and her dad enjoyed wakeboarding together. And so we wanted a way to sort of memorialize him, but obviously she couldn't go to the funeral, so she couldn't do it that way. So we just worked together, and she came up with this idea to, write a letter, kind of, there was some unfinished business that she wanted to process and get out and externalize, so she wrote him a letter. But what she did was, when she went on one of her wakeboarding trips, she just kind of tore the paper up and kind of just like spread it out over the ocean in California. So that was just her way of like navigating and memorializing her father, even though she couldn't go attend the funeral. But again, for me, it's more so like giving your body what it needs and responding to it and kind of doing what works for you and not kind of what we see kind of on TV or whatever. And speaking of, this wasn't really on this slide, but I'm always thinking about when we do go to funerals sometimes. This is an example that came up for me just now. Like when we do go to funerals, I see a lot of people wearing sunglasses. And I'm not judging that. I know it happens a lot in my community, in my family. I've seen it before. In one of the funerals that I attended 2 years ago, we were dressed up, but someone was like wearing sunglasses. This is the son of the person who passed away. But that just reminded me that when we wear sunglasses sometimes, that it could be a sign that we don't give ourselves permission to grieve, or we have to hide our pain, or we don't want people to see our tears. And so it just reminded me that, giving ourselves permission to like grieve the way you need to, and it's okay. Yeah, if your mom passed away, I'm not saying you have to go cry, but it's okay if you do. But not having to hide that. Again, we often grieve based on what we see on TV. Right, but remember, those are like paid actors, they're professional grievers, right? And so we don't have to romanticize it in the way that they do it. But, if you need to talk to someone, writing or journaling, I'm very big on like journaling and externalizing in the way you can. Even if it's journaling through like voice message, that's okay as well too, or quiet reflection as well. But just whatever feels authentic to you and healthy. And then I'm just wrapping up here. With redefining how we as men can create space for each other and what man up actually means. But I'm curious to know, do any of those man up ways of supporting grief resonate with anyone, or any thoughts to add or new ways to consider as well too?
Well, I just think collectively with Man Up and just in general with what we've discussed today, that like for me personally, it's not that I don't care about what my male friends are going through. It's so much that it's oftentimes just hard to really put into words like how you genuinely can go about expressing that you're there for them. But ultimately, like saying, "Hey, Corbin, I'm here for you," is not the same thing as being like is then allowing them to then fully express themselves in a way.
Yeah.
So to like what he said about opening it up to a channel and like playing games and stuff like that, that's happened to me relatively recently, where like I have not had the ability to stop what I'm doing to be able to communicate with a friend. But it's like we had a conversation just over games of just like an hour and a half of just allowing ourselves to be open with each other, and it really works and it really helps. And it's just something that as we grow older, like will be more important, especially with the grieving process, dealing with parents dying and stuff like that. Like that's on the doorstep for a lot of us now.
Mm-hmm.
And so just using this to like give each other grace to be able to, that's part of being a friend, like you wanting to be there for them when they're at their darkest, like that's part of the relationship. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's given permission to allow it to happen how it needs to happen. So if it's like playing a video games, like there's no wrong reason to it. The thing that I would challenge though the room on is, yeah, that's definitely a good start, but also it could be a symptom of like society, we're moving so fast. Like, so we don't make time to slow down. So is that something we probably can also think about and reflect on? Like, am am I really making intentional time to really befriend someone and really understanding what that means to be in a relationship with this person, as a friendship, right? And so that does mean not maybe all the time like slowing down, having coffee every once a week, but how do I make intentional time to really navigate what they're going through? Because also, maybe they won't come to you, hey, I'm having this bad thing, but through that intentional, engagement and that time together, maybe you'll also see some of those signs as well. So I think it's probably going to be a give and take. But yeah, because we live in this capitalist society, we're all in this grind curriculum, this grind culture. We're not slowing down to be able to see each other. Then I would go back to option A, which is maybe the first way to get there is, hey, let's play video games, or let's go for a walk together, let's go ride bikes, or even if it's working out, right, using that time to reflect and connect too. Anything else resonates? Land? This is the real man up, I think. Quick poll. Does anybody like to journal? Yes, I have 2 people. Oh my gosh. I love it. Okay. What's the is there like a rhyme or rhythm to how you journal? You just sort of journal free for association, or?
If I know that whatever emotion that I'm processing is going to take time, then I want to be able to reflect on the process and see, check in with where I was.
Yeah.
I think also just moving your body, and like it's a kind of like a meditation in itself to diffuse those emotions and like put them onto paper is like a ritual of moving those emotions outside of you, so that you don't have to keep them in your head.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the hammer. And one of the ways in which we learn how to navigate emotion, I think you were already doing the movement, we kind of just say unhook ourselves from the emotion, but doing this physically, and that's the process of externalizing and putting the emotion here so we can actually see it and test the fear, right? And test the anxiety, test the embarrassment, and really put it on trial a little bit more, but from unhooking ourselves from it so it's not so detached to our internal psychological processing. But yeah, that's curious, just we want to know about journaling. Anything that I missed about, ways that we can support one another in grief in our last few minutes here?
I got a question, not necessarily directly about that, but we touched on the idea of like healing a couple times or going through that process, and I feel like we're kind of circling that idea, but can you give us, or at least, I'm asking for myself, like what does it mean to heal? What does that look like? What's that process?
Yeah, what comes up for me is, one, I was going to say it depends, and it also look different on everybody, because I don't think maybe healing is like, could we get to like Waco and now we're healing? It may be like in this moment where a new trigger may arise, it may not be as intense, or it may not impact us as much, or it may not slow me down from my everyday life as much, or it may not take me away from my people, right? But again, knowing if grief is on the table, like we may, and if we kind of pull back in like this other, even if it's flourishing, right, let's use this framework, or the other framework that we use as acceptance. It may look like we're now able to tolerate and accept kind of what happened, or now begin to make meaning about what happened and really rebuild places that sort of were shattered initially. So it's going to look different based on, one, the loss, but then 2, based on kind of what's needed from that person at that moment, and even based on what was, where you sort of, to use non-clinical terms, like how far it took you off your train tracks, right? And so it could look like just maybe now you're back rolling, moving again, even if it's slow, that's healing to me. If it's like now moving fast, that's also healing. I think it's based on how you define your needs and kind of what's coming up for you in your world. So yeah, I think those are abstract thoughts that come up for me about it, because I think healing is not going to be like, okay, we all can do these 10 things today, then we're all going to be healing. It's going to be, I think it's kind of, different and based on like individual, I believe. Yeah, I think you get to define what healing looks like, because if you can just get out of bed today after the loss, maybe that's healing, right? If you can take a shower tomorrow, then you're healing. So I think it's based on different aspects. Mainly because it's not linear.
The other day, I'm going through a breakup right now, and the other day, I was processing it with my ex, and after that conversation, I was trying to kind of sublime, in a sense, like I wanted to give the love that I was not receiving, in a way, to kind of heal my own lack, in a sense. And I left that night thinking so equanimous, like very healed, and a day later I'm like, I was not. And so I think it's just not a roller coaster, in a sense, like you can't control it, that you're in for the ride, but I think focusing on the pain is sometimes the faster route to healing. I just went in a bunch of different directions, but
No, that's okay. Because I think that's sort of how, the healing process works, right? I think of it mainly around like new triggers that may come up in different seasons. Like maybe it's the smell of something. Maybe it was the music that we played together. Maybe it's the way my grandfather used to hit me on my shoulder. Hey, are you one of mine? So I see that in my mind a couple of times. I'm like, well, dang, now I gotta go be sad for a few more minutes, right? But I think new things come up, and my grandfather passed away 6 years ago, and I was telling my twin about that 2 weeks ago. So it just new things may come up, and I think it's just sort of riding that wave and accepting it and just giving your body what it needs. Again, there may be criteria or signs, right? I think if there's things to consider if it's taking you sort of off like your normalcy, if you're really losing interest, you're not able to kind of get to that space, then maybe you're not in the more healing zone, if you want to label it that way. But I think you get to measure and decide kind of how that's moving forward or not, I think. At least in my thoughts. We're wrapping up. Yes, we are wrapping up. Just one question that as a call to action, and I'll get off the microphone and just curious to hear, what is one way that you can support the emotional wellness of yourself or the men in your life? As not a teacher, but someone who facilitates groups, we kind of go around the room at this part, but you don't have to share if you don't want to. But anybody feel that to share one thing, one way you want to support the emotional wellness of yourself or the men in your life?
I just want to listen instead of like offering solutions, like listening to my little brother. He usually doesn't have much to say, so if he comes to me, it's like a huge deal. And so I'm always like, oh my God, what do you need? And he's like, okay, calm down.
Really?
You're so weird. Like, there's also like this trend of like being nonchalant, and so all the kids are like, oh, I don't have feelings. Like, I'm super cool. So when he like cracks, I'm like, oh, perfect. So just listening.
Yeah.
For myself, so I don't want to offer advice because I'm terrible at it, right? Or just to offer with this particular thing. Being open to accepting the help that people are offering.
Yeah.
Even if my immediate reaction is to be like, that's not going to work. Still, hey, give it a shot. See what happens. Just let somebody be there just for me to just vent to, even about whatever my predispositions are. Just any of that, because I know that I might not be open to it in that moment because of how I feel.
Yeah.
It just allows, like, all right, let me just sit with this situation as it's being presented and allow them to help me because they're offering.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Anyone else?
Maybe just like checking in, seeing how they're doing, what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
hear you.
I hear you. That goes a long way.
I think I'm personally supporting my own emotional wellness and trying to really take my friends up on plans, on outings, on just fun things they want to do, like little, like not even fun things they want to do. Co-working sessions that we do, that stuff was just make time for my friends.
Yeah.
And let them embrace me the way they want to.
Yeah. Yeah, check on your strong friends. I just literally randomly texted one of my older fraternity brothers. He's like 83, and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about you. How's it going? Oh my gosh, thank you. So it was like he was waiting for me to reach out to him. So yeah, check on people. It's okay. It is okay to use the phone too. I know we have text messages. Anyways, I can get on my. I'm an old school person. I'm an old millennial. Yeah, just to wrap up by saying this. Grief is a human experience. It's not a gendered weakness. Men, yes, we deserve spaces where we can be emotionally honest, and then I just definitely want to walk away with strength and vulnerability can coexist together. So thank y'all for having me. I did invite y'all to, through Hearts2Heal, we brought pizza for you all. I want to partake in that. But no, thank you all for having me. Just a quick promotion. We are screening again the short film Beyond the Stages of Grief. You may or may not see a familiar face in that short film, but come out, reserve your ticket. It's at Galaxy Theater next Sunday. I think it's at 2, am I getting the time right? 2:30? This coming Sunday. This coming Sunday. May 3rd. Yes. Okay, so 2 o'clock. Definitely come out to that. That's an amazing, I'm not saying it because I'm in it, but I'm saying it because it's really amazing. And again, I think with the work in the series that Maria is creating and for that short film is amazing. You get to meet the actors who are in it, but also have a panel talk as well. But that's amazing. So definitely come out there. I'll also be selling my journal there. Men's Got the Healing and Leadership. My 21-day journal to reclaim your strength, real strength, purpose, and authentic leadership. So I invite you to come talk to me there as well too. But with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. Any final things?
Just thank you for all of it and for coming as well. We have pizza, and then if we can take a group picture, if anybody's willing to, that'll be great.
Thank you.
And please do pizza.
Maybe let's take the picture first.
Yes, first
So, yeah, before you go in.
Only if you feel comfortable.
Right. Let's not take pizza with you in the picture. Yeah.
Yes, please.
I can take the picture. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll send the other pictures to you guys.
Awesome, thank you.
You're all sure?
Oh, you feel comfortable.
Well, honestly, let's have a guy's picture.
Okay.
Smile.
Oh, just the man. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you should take it. And then the other way too.
Okay. Alright. 1, 2, 3. Nice smile. Love it. Okay, I think I'm good. You guys don't want to get too close.
Thank you.
Great job.
And if anybody parked in the garage, we have vouchers.
I parked around the corner.
Oh, would be nice.
I'm just on the street somewhere.
On the street? You are so much better.
I'm from Austin.
They
It
don't-
used to be
they don't
free.
take
Like,
that much.
I used to park on Congress for
Park
free.
right in that corner.
Well, today's Tuesday.
The 3 times.
Yeah, the after 6.
Nine.
It's free
All the
anyway.
same parking
But
spot.
I mean, me and my friends just go to Congress
But
every
I'm really
weekend.
upset that someone took my parking
And
spot.
park
It's not
for
letting
free.
me.
Like,
Now
now you have to pay. I'm like, this is
Yeah, I got
not
lost
my
stuff like that.
city. What happened?
I like circled the block a couple times.
Yeah.
When I get my report.
Yeah.
What part of Austin do you live in?
Now I live north. I live like
It's
Round
about
Rock,
to go parking.
but I'm
I
from
was
East
there.
Austin. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Down near like
This is Alberto.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I work off of the Cameron. My
Oh, yeah,
office is
okay.
yeah, pretty close. Like winning free, passing,
Oh, yeah.
tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And we still go to church
I know people.
off MLK, so
A lot of people.
it's St. David's.
I want to say the first time we met.
I go to St. David's Missionary Baptist Church. It's because there's St.
No,
David's
I didn't move here in
also
2014.
right down the street.
No, it was 2014, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. A lot of churches like live around here too.
Okay.
Are you looking for a church?
I live in Austin.
Okay, yeah. So you got your phone. Love it.
What is your name?
I'm Kenya. I'm sorry. I should have led with that. Nice to meet you too.
So you grew with the
Hearts2Heal? Yeah. I've been
I'm on Blue Sky, but I sophomore my phone like 2 years ago. I need to get just all social media in general. It's not
I'm in graduate school.
pretty much what
I'm about to become an OPC.
that's what your Instagram is, my pictures.
Right now I'm in school, so I'm just looking for a place to do my hours, and I moved back home after college.
So just not
That's
to
like-
scream that dumb shit that they
Look
actually
for
don't
something
care about.
You know?
Yeah. Or just other social media, it's just
Yeah,
that.
that-
It's just so it's like,
Yeah, so I
I'm
was-
getting nothing
my
out of
whole
any
family
of
lives
this
in Phoenix
anymore.
except my mom, so it's just been me and my mom.
I wish I could get rid of
Yeah.
Instagram, but I am getting rid of
Yeah.
photography, and that's still like
Yeah,
the only
so
place to
I'm the
read
only
stuff.
weirdo.
Thing is,
because
they're
Everybody
outward
else
so,
is a
oh, you
native
looked at this. Like,
Houstonian.
I don't get photography anymore.
I think there's like good and bad of both. I really appreciate
DJing stuff.
the food
A
is
show that I want to watch. If I mention the show, that's what
also
my
good and awesome, but
and like
it
it just
depends
keeps
on
showing
what
like,
you're
oh,
looking
because
at.
I just like
I
interact
feel
with
like
stuff. It's like
Houston's just
like this. We're gonna keep showing it to you.
really
You
like
do something
I
about
want
it.
Salvadorian
I don't
food.
really.
I can have that.
Yeah.
I want really good.
There it is. It's just
I can have it.
I
In
have
Austin,
to
it might just be like
either
one
disengage or like I don't want it. The problem is it doesn't sweet. So like I'm here just so like we're not gonna show you any of this stuff. Like,
I worked at like
once in a while,
different
or like
schools.
all
I
things.
say I work at a
There's a balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Because it's trying to like get me to keep looking.
There's so much
You look at a cat, there's 20 cat videos.
Austin's
Like, I
never
don't
been
want to look
that
at 20 cat videos. I
diverse.
don't even know
It's
these
getting a lot
people. I
better.
have friends
But-
that have cats. Show me their cats. Like, what the fuck?
And also the traffic.
Exactly. Their cats are doing the
But I
trending
like,
thing that everybody else's cat is
You guys
doing.
better
have to
use
do
it,
something.
for sure. Like,
I don't think that's nothing interesting. It's just what everybody else is doing.
Like one area to the other can take like
It,
way longer.
it depends on where you're going. Like my job was a 30-minute commute every day, and it was like halfway across Houston. But
Spread out.
the thing is, Houston was supposed to be the capital of Texas, and it was the first capital of Texas. And so when they moved to Austin, the infrastructure doesn't match. So like Houston is built like a central business district of like the central and then like the several highways going around and several ways to come in and out. So that's the difference. Like Austin just has two ways all the way across.
Yeah.
Houston has like
Like
you
so
can
many
take
different,
59 to get to 69 to get to so
That's
that
confusing to me, but yeah.
once you like get it down, it makes a lot more sense and you realize, oh well I can take 59 to the tollway and then get off on 69. You got options.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I think, I don't know, I like how many options, but they have like no nature, and that was very sad for me.
I mean, I see your purpose. I'm in
So that's one thing I don't understand on
No, you like I'm right there.
Also,
They probably were, they just put buildings on top of it. So.
Yeah.
But we preserve our trees, our parks, our, you know, you see people on dogs, with their dogs on bikes, you know. Houston, you don't see that.
Somewhat.
Mm.
Some parts, but
Some
yeah.
parts, maybe like, Montrose District, like the arts district.
It can't be the mountain.
They're serious, not as serious as Dallas, but serious.
Y'all's thing too.
Are you from Austin?
I'm from San Antonio originally.
Okay, not too far. Y'all have the Riverwalk and the Alamo.
But pizza is a basic food.
I
It's supposed
did
to
Window
be.
Way.
By design.
Oh, nice, okay.
Yeah, but it was more in like the hill country, so it was like north of San Antonio.
Oh, yeah.
It was called Park 31, Park something.
I don't know what that one is.
It was like literally in the middle of nowhere, but it was really beautiful. My friend, she lives there. My friend was Yeah, I was like, wow, this is the first time in San Antonio.
I feel like I'm talking like people that mention like places in San Antonio, and I'm like, I've never heard of this. I didn't know this existed.
That's the thing about San Antonio. It seems like there's not a lot, but there's actually so much. And I'm like, and my brother's thinking about going to UTSA, so if he does choose.
How old is your
I'll
brother?
be right in about 30 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's like just turned 18, he's about to graduate. So we went on the tour. Yeah, he got in. He thinks he likes it, but he's
So when this happens about the are they always here?
Yes.
What does he want to study?
Like digital media, like he's really good with
We just
cameras.
have different
So he
speakers.
takes like
So last time
like
it was
photo shoots,
a
like
lady
people's grad. He
who
took my
made
graduation
Esther.
pictures.
Aw.
She developed
Yeah, like people's prom
to
pictures, all of
help
that. And I'm
connect
like,
with
well,
friends.
that's great. It's
So
good.
it's called Buzz,
Editing
where you add
videos,
5
really
friends,
quick at it.
and then you can set yourself online and
Yeah,
see which
I'm
experience
impressed by him because I am like an old lady with all my technology. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
why are you taking your card out?
I thought it was
You
gonna
have
be more
Apple
like
Pay,
Outlook.
Oh, I
can
do
see
that.
your
Yeah, I'm like, sorry.
It's not
It
there
took me a
yet.
really long time to like.
I still do that. I was like, well, why do I have a card then? I just needed a phone. Like, I wrote a check one day and it was like,
Oh, it's sad. Like,
I was like, I need to give someone a check, like it's a very specific amount, and like it's
Yeah.
for something important, and I need like documentation of it. He's like, no, like you can just print out your
came
things,
from
wait a minute, like,
he said that
sorry.
No, I would
there were a lot
also just
more
read
people.
I think I'm like ancient, we're only like
Which
500
wasn't
cards,
necessarily
something
bad,
like
it was
that.
Aw.
just like weird to me. Compared to
Yeah, but he's, I mean, we're both Gen Z, but
So that's why we're
I'm at the
trying to
early
see how we
end,
can
and
have
he's at the late end, so it's kind of like, oh, okay, like even our upbringings are very different. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just, I was thinking about
It's
lots of things while I was
fine.
here.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if there would be the appetite for something like this, and I have to go make phone calls first. Like,
Fight through all that traffic.
the company that I work for has an event
Oh,
space.
I have my
wonder if
business card.
events I'm the last use it for.
Never have business cards, but I need it.
We have like
Another thing my brother
like a
thinks
twice
is
a
so
month north of the south. I don't know if we have like the audience for that, or the capacity for that.
So last year,
That's
what
true,
we thought it was that
I
it
don't know, I
was,
think it's like.
we were trying one or
So
two
you can have my
events
card,
a quarter, and that was a lot of the quarters.
I think my cousin just sent you.
This year, we
Yes.
have
He's
stages
Yeah,
once a month.
The
I
proverbial
don't
Which is
thing
nice
know
is,
which
because
company she works for.
it doesn't take a lot
But
of
sometimes
time.
when she does like
Nicole,
presentations,
so I think we should, that's something that we can do for next year. In November, we have our
or
plan for the next year. This year, I think we have.
I left it in her whole spiel.
Oh,
I
I
don't
got
know
you.
which
Yeah,
one.
she's like, I have to do so many
Events
like
in the summer.
presentations for
I
whatever.
or something like that.
Don't know.
I know that they like scheduled it with me and stuff, but
And then
she's
we have
enjoying it, she's learning a lot, and I'm like,
summer.
okay, cool. As long as you're happy.
So we should start, ideally, we would have
Oh,
started.
yeah, so that's it.
Yeah. That's why she's so like,
yeah, 6 months is
she's like,
a
can I?
tight runway.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like, if you have any
Good
questions,
thing is that
like,
instead of
I'm
having
like,
a
yeah, I
short call,
do, like, I don't know what you're talking
about.
Okay.
yeah, but she's pretty,
And we
she's
already
getting,
have
Gotcha.
pretty much
she's getting.
like a project management team, that we worked with last year.
Yeah.
And we have the graphics and stuff.
But I think she wants, like, she's dedicated, she actually like studies it.
So it's not as bad as it has been.
So we get
When you say project management, is it like through a production company?
It's an actual
go like the
DNN
direction
and
actually
consulting.
market-based stuff, she'll have to additional licenses.
We met with them almost
dive
every
into it.
week, if not
That's
every week.
great.
running towards the.
They walked us through
Running
everything
towards
that we
the.
had to do,
Yeah.
make sure that we
Honestly,
were
Yeah, I
whatever
really
not
like
the
to
crowd
teach
what's going
her,
on.
so I'm
She just kept us in check.
Yeah.
Confronting it.
It's really nice to meet you.
No stress.
You don't look
Has-
you don't look
I can just run
a little bit of stress.
It was
Likewise.
so good to see you.
I'm gonna see you. Yes, you can. Yeah.
I was just dealing with the whole picture situation when you came in.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Thanks.
I've treated
Try to.
Oh,
delicious.
it's matching.
Yes.
Yeah.
whole thing.
The whole thing.
Very pink delicious. You know, my favorite color is actually blue, but you know.
I have a lot of pink stuff too, like my bag and my laptop and my
Yes.
phone. But also maroon is my favorite color.
You're like,
it just happens.
yeah, my sorority is royal blue and white. They're
Oh.
very strict about that, so I only have the pink when I'm not doing stuff. You know,
Fair.
like in my room, there's like a blue corner, my Zeta corner, to be like, okay, I remember where I'm at. I
Yes.
know who I'm with. Okay, it's not a question.
That's when you take the video calls.
Yeah, I'm like, guys. I'm in a blue room.
I'm in
of
blue.
course. Yeah, I breathe blue. But
How are you,
it's nice to meet
Stephanie?
you guys.
Nice to meet
Thank you
you.
guys.
Thank you, bye. Take care.
How are you, Stephanie?
I'm good, thank
How
you.
did you find out about the event?
Yeah, I heard that.
A friend had posted it, and I thought it sounded pretty interesting, so I
Right,
wanted
I'm
to check
glad
it out.
you came.
Yeah, I went to the wrong place at first though, so.
The same, like.
Oh no!
That's
Oh!
I did.
I was very helpful. It's
I
like,
was
you
like-
seem familiar, but what have I seen him? And then it clicked.
Well, there was a sign and it actually said it on
Yeah.
it, and I was like,
And I was going.
she asked me, I was like, are you, I was like, no, there's for this one, right? And then, but I was like, but it's on your sign, and she's like, oh, but it's a different floor.
It was downstairs in that big
One of those
room.
other-
Yeah.
Whenever we have events there, we always get questions about what that is, and if that's that when we get there, they are looking for this type of event, and vice versa.
Channeling all of your
So
energy
it's-
into
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it needs to be
I
managed
forgot that
differently.
I forgot that the office, there's like
doesn't know
black
where
areas
to
upstairs.
channel.
Yeah.
But then I do always think about the downstairs for some reason too.
Well, you're welcome to come back. We have them every month, and it's always in the
Okay.
same room.
Okay,
Yeah,
got you.
so-
Very cool.
Yeah. We should be posting that one next month soon.
Okay, got it. Cool, cool.
Bring your friends too.
Okay. Yeah.
Do we have the themes for these planned out? Like
We
advance?
do. I just don't have
One
them
break
memorized.
might have-
Yeah,
yet.
I was just wondering, like, how far out, like.
I think we have the whole year.
Cool.
We have a Word document. I just haven't looked at it.
I had to,
in-
like,
How long has this been going?
It's our third time.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so the first one, it was in February. It was very low key. It was just to have us introduce the space.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
then the second one was, I thought it was also a lot of fun because it was about friendship and the grief about losing a friend or being a bad friend, how to be a good friend. The lady who hosted has an app called Bug.
Bug, like B-U-G?
Three G's. B-U-G-G-G.
Okay. Oh my, okay.
Yeah. But it was an app to help coordinate with 5 friends on when you're available to hang out.
Oh, okay,
And
interesting.
it was a lot of fun because she also showed us an episode of Girlfriends that talked about losing a friend and how to deal with it being a good friend and all of that. And now we have Kevin.
Yeah.
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 So
Oh, that would've been a really fun to cook.
it was packed actually.
Oh my gosh.
That was very well attended.
Yeah. Yeah.
But feel free to have more soon.
Okay,
Okay, great. But I'm glad you came.
Yeah.
So hopefully we see you again.
Yeah.
Of course.
So, you did a great job with engagement.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with silence, but I'm glad he
In
is.
that role, you have to.
Yeah, I bet.
Huge part of my job is one day okay with silence like that, and also training other people like, yo, it's okay if you're talking to somebody like that 5 seconds is only 5 seconds. I swear. It feels like forever, but it's only 5 seconds.
Fair. Fair. Did you park at the garage?
No, I parked on the I found like incredible parking.
That's
Literally
good.
like right across the street.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm right around the corner, so.
Yeah.
With me, I'm not pets. Not feeding myself up.
Oh.
It's good to see.
Thanks for missing trivia.
I'm okay with Mr. Trivia.
Oh,
I'm not okay
yeah.
with it. It's him that was making a big deal.
That's why I care about our team.
I also care about our team.
They go to trivia together.
Oh.
He's one of my husband's besties.
And,
Nice meeting you.
very.
What is your name?
Troy.
Troy. Nice to meet you on Stephanie. Trivia is hard.
They did a pretty good job. I wouldn't be able to do it, Taylor.
Y'all do
Yeah.
like YouTube drink?
This one, it's not.
It's not YouTube Drake. I think
but
it's like it's at St. Elmo. Like it's a guy that just runs like his own private thing. Not like a private thing, but like he only does that stuff.
Yeah.
Like a couple of breweries. It's good trivia though. I do want to start doing YouTube Drake again. I want to probably do that, but not at Alamo. Boycott it. Angry at Alamo.
Why?
Fair.
They said Sony. All everything they're doing is just Sony's making it a lot worse, and I'm really scared that Boss is going to lose Alamo Draft House because the company's not doing well. So.
There's no way they can cover. I don't know how.
I mean, they have to just go back to the way it was, and Sony won't let that happen. So.
I mean, Alamo Draft House does have trivia also.
Oh, they do?
I've heard of it,
I
but
found like a couple times. I feel more like just support type anything than the answers, but and they bring their whole like keyboards with them, like
Really?
yeah, for like the quickness of typing their
Wow.
answers.
So they're
Like
hardcore.
they're yeah.
Wow. Do you guys do that too?
Not
No?
regular.
Okay.
I've been like a handful of times in my life.
Okay. I use them
More for support training than anything. Cheering.
Yeah,
on.
that's my goal too.
Yeah.
And I take a coloring book.
There's a podcast that basically does that. That's why I felt this is nice. It was called One Song. Basically, you ever watch? I know you watch
Alamo
Summer
Draft
Show.
House and Wheeler. I don't know if the rest of it.
You watch Summer
A lot of
Show?
them do.
Oh my god, you watch Summer Show?
Any of the ones that
It's
have
basically
like a
it's
bar.
a parody of like
That makes sense. Okay.
old music.
Oh.
It's a good way to
Like
like
music,
out
like
the
songs and shit like
Oh.
that. It's very original. Like, it's all like fake songs, fake music, but like they have a real musicians who wrote real on there.
Probably.
Yeah, a bunch of musicians spot on, but it's a bunch of comedians that you know, and one of them is the host of One Song. With the producer, because they look like literally every episode is one song. Like an hour-long
Are you affiliated with
podcast
Hearts2Heal?
about literally one song. Like why they get the actual production and standards and shit. And they also did a two-part episode about that. Like it just came out recently.
So he's been doing like he's dissecting all of them so far.
Instagram, and we have a LinkedIn as well.
I don't know if he's gonna go through
So
them all,
we post a lot of
but
our.
he's
And
started.
What
time is Angela?
I did Brendan probably Bay State. While my brain is still
So,
in.
I don't have
this
still
one is
in
the
front of me.
one that he was mentioning
Totally
on Sunday.
fine with doing together,
Yeah.
because to have to be looking forward to this and it's at 9 o'clock till.
That's the other thing. It's like, if it's like at 9, I probably won't be able to do it. It's 9.
are you going to go to this one?
I'm one of the board members, so I'll probably be there. And I'll definitely one of our board members. Good, okay, so I'll see you out there.
My favorite Indian restaurant
Oh.
ever used to be on Middle Fist. They
Oh,
closed 2
used
years
to.
ago.
I was gonna ask for a recommendation.
I do have one up there though, guys.
Wait, where is this? This was at.
Middle Fist,
Oh yes, right at the okay.
the Galaxy on Middle Fist. I think Shanghai is still there.
Shanghai is there.
Yeah.
I'm waking up at like 4 in the morning.
I don't know what to throw those boxes away, because they don't fit good.
Yes, that time.
Maybe downstairs. Yeah.
Start pacing in my room. That was me this past 2 weeks.
Thanks, Elijah.
Just start pacing, thinking, I mean, talking to myself, just having the same conversations over and over. And writing it down really got me to move to the next topic. And like I was still certainly ruminating, but about new things.
Okay, so we should get Alex a little bit. Do you need any help, Kevin? You're good?
I'm good. Zipping everything up.
Thank you so much, that was amazing.
I listen to podcasts a lot, yeah.
Thanks for having us.
I do.
Thank you.
Actually, like, my book, yeah, it's funny, I mean, I reached like a.
We'll see you on Sunday?
At a certain point.
Yes,
Okay.
Sunday. Sorry, because so the funny thing is,
It felt like
this
in the-
Sunday
in
is
the
like the
beginning of
second or
the
third.
week,
So the other documentary that I was in two
Oh.
was the following Sunday. So I would have I had that on my list.
Popular.
Alright?
Stop.
Don't stop, don't
Huh?
stop.
Related or?
I've tried.
They're on Greek. They're both on Greek. So this one is on Beyond the Stages of Greek, and this one is a musical journey through Greek.
Grab it.
Oh.
And they use music. It's a group called
And then I
Greek
used to stay
Lights
right
here in Austin.
Go down there and stuff.
And yeah, he wrote a lot of the music, and he wanted counselors to kind of get practical tools and everything in Greek, basically. So he actually, this is a little bit of a bold move because I'm so excited because they put it in a film festival in Canada and they won 3 awards.
Wow.
So is exciting. I just got back last week, but they're gonna rescreen it the next Sunday. So I'm excited about that too for sure.
Okay, well, you'll have to. Are you posting about it too?
So I'm on social media. I'm bad at it.
Okay.
Even though I'm on it and I do it a lot.
Yeah.
So bad at it. I'll try to be posting for sure.
Okay.
Send it to Maria to kind of make sure she gets it
Yeah.
out too. But,
Yeah, that'd be good, so we can go and see it.
I will. But yeah, I'm just giving support. But nice meeting y'all.
Nice to
Thank y'all
meet
for having me.
you.
I'm so excited and
Thanks.
obviously thank
Yeah.
you. Thank y'all for participating.
Well, it looks like
Me and we're gonna talk today. What's going on? But no, I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you, it was
For-
great. Really appreciate you.
or pain or whatever.
It is.
I
I'll have to figure out
I felt that I
where.
Figure that part out. We know we
Yes.
did something. We don't know where we did
I
that.
gotcha.
and then let go of the pressure.
Yeah.
And
Who was that?
Thank you.
Oh. Oh, I just texted it.
Born and raised. I have my own card singing any of this stuff.
Yeah, I just have to put the chairs back.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
it helped me so much that
Yeah, I mean, I'll just start. Fine.
Yeah, we're good. Don't.
Is it just like scooting them out of the table?
Oh
Yeah.
no, those are fine. It's just those four.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why you told me not to.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely thought you meant like
Very
all of
respectful
it.
to the process.
Well, that makes a little
And
sense.
after I have no desire to do it anymore. And I felt like spiders in general. And that
Have you
made
been to
me
these before?
maybe just my first one grow on my shirt.
Same thing.
Like also got
Yeah.
heartburn happening.
Cool. It's good to meet you.
Do you live nearby?
I live up in Cedar Park, so
And that's
it was a drive to me.
winning 2 years in a row with like a
Yeah, it's a
small
little bit,
version and like an industrial size version.
but totally worth it.
And
Yeah, it's really good.
just to grow mushrooms, and like that was, I guess, like a cultivator, like a machine. My way of like.
Those go here.
I don't want
I didn't want to take them too far.
Yeah.
So I was working through my grief.
But you look good. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. You should
Do you want me
go
to take
home.
those empty boxes so I can find a spot downstairs?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you also, appreciate them. What was your name?
I'm Stephanie.
Corbin.
Corbin?
Jacob.
Jacob? Stephanie.
What is the rest of
Girls
it?
are trash.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
There are other events
Excuse me.
happening.
I think this happens once a month.
For
For
Hearts2Heal or just in general?
For Capital Factor, I think they had a few events happening with some.
There's something
Yeah.
going on the first floor.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I don't even know if that is. What is it?
I don't know, they're like, little throwaway balls.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Everyone's
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming, Jacob.
They're valid bread mini.
Garlic donut.
Should be all set.
Oh.
That's the nice. Making a man.
Oh.
How are you?
Oh, it is good.
Alright.
You're not finished on the website, though, man.
I was not even gonna ask.
It's not even-
I wasn't gonna ask. I probably wasn't gonna
Yeah,
ask.
okay, so.
I was telling how incapable the tool is.
Is it difficult to do?
It's not terribly difficult, it's just a lot of like
It was
options.
talking about like mental health and like, yeah.
What do you need to make it easier?
I think the last thing I went to like,
No.
it was actually
Myself,
like,
apparently.
like, comedic, like.
Did any of those things that I sent you
Comedic
work?
like that.
Did you see that other one? I just like reading it.
Oh, I didn't have a chance to go through
Okay.
that, but it was very helpful.
Okay.
It would be so cool to work at that first person,
I
but I just don't
was
think
here
that,
for like school, I did
I don't think
undergrad here, I
that my
did grad
skills are
school
gonna
here.
transfer. They do a lot of 3D based stuff, and I was like 2D.
I'm from LA. I just came to Austin about a year ago.
Oh,
There's a
wow.
place that,
Welcome to Austin.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
No,
And then
no,
Capital
no,
Factory
that's
is
not
a
a
place
place.
that I
suppose it wouldn't hurt to just
found
apply.
online.
Yeah,
and have
give it a
events.
chance.
Thanks for doing that.
And then I also love this kind of stuff.
I'm sure they're also the higher level right now.
I'm all into that. I love that stuff.
I haven't been to like the Capital Factory actually. Yeah,
I
I
like
used to
the work.
live here a lot for.
Native Austin.
What was that?
A native Austin, I think,
Oh, really? From Austin? Okay.
Where you from? Where you from? Austin?
Yeah. Oh, you're a native?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
What about you? Austinite?
Houston.
And Austinite? Where from?
I don't know. I've been here for 15 years, but I moved a lot.
Okay.
Are you from Austin?
No.
No?
I've been here 1 year.
Where are you from?
LA.
LA? Okay. I was born in LA and then I moved out.
There you go. You're from LA.
Well, I did not represent it.
Let's change the light, change the face. And then I like Austin. The city's very cool. I like that. I want to explore San Antonio more. It's very Hispanic.
I went to a different area before this. And then I worked at
It's like you can get over there and like kind of relax. It's like
Those were Elijah's. The guy was helping us out. And I just texted him to see what he wanted us to do.
You out there a lot?
I was not leaving here.
It's not too far. It's like an hour.
Oh,
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah,
What's your name?
Joey.
Joey? Okay, nice to meet you, Joey.
Marcus.
Are you gonna come back?
Yeah, I'll be around. I'm always here.
Oh, nice.
I always try to learn something here.
Okay. Well, they're here on Tuesday. I think it's the fourth Tuesday.
Is there different topics?
Yeah. Don't ask me what the next one is because I don't remember.
Are you
The
organizing?
organization that I am a board member for, we host it. Hearts2Heal, so you should follow us.
Cool, I will. I'll check it out.
Thank you. Have a good
Meet you
night.
everywhere.
Is this empty?
No, there's a little bit left.
Oh, okay.
That's it, everything else has been taken care of.
Oh, nice. Thank you. I'll put it back.
It's okay.
I'm so sure I have to eat.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we should be okay. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Take care, have a good night.